Good afternoon, good morning, hello everybody. This is 2A Radio. 2A Radio is a global internet radio and television station broadcasting from Pennsylvania in the United States of America. We are broadcasting to the rest of the world. Today our focus is on Liberia, and we are making analysis of the Cpp Saga, that is the collaboration of political parties, meaning the four political parties that came together to work for the common good of their ideas so that they can participate in the 2023 general and presidential elections, to which they decide to unseat the incumbent, meaning the current president of Liberia, George Weah. The political parties have been having some confusion in their midst, and to the point where a writ of arrest has been issued to one of the standard bearer of one of the political parties. The writ was issued by the City Magisterial Court in Monrovia, Liberia, and it is that writ we want to discuss and discuss out of its surrounding circumstances and see where that party is heading to. Also, we want to look at the 2022 national budget, the 786 million United States dollars budget for the country. That budget, as we understand, it has been passed by the House of Representatives without any budget hearing. What does that mean for the country Liberia? Looking through these situations, we want to make some analysis and see whether our voices can be heard. Whether the people of Liberia will continue to trust those who are heading the current government. Having said those, this is 2A Radio once again. We are here this morning bringing you analysis of the issues. This to have been inside Liberia. But because our correspondents are all busy or cannot count on at this moment, we thought to give you perfect analysis of these two issues. What is the purpose of a government? A government is where the group of people surrender their rights to a fewer group of persons to lead. In this case, the CDC, the Congress for Democratic Change, was given state power to govern Liberia, meaning they were expected to do extraordinarily well, unlike their predecessor, the Ellen-led government, the United Party-led government. How do you feel about the CDC at this point in time? Well, some of those things we look at the tenet of democracy. And the tenet of democracy is to allow political parties to work. Political parties are pressure groups that should be able to mirror the current government and say what is going wrong, what is right, and how can they see the flaws and then be prepared to unseat the current government. Importantly so, amongst the 22 political parties, fewer political parties like those that came under the umbrella of the CPP have been looked at seriously as a serious group of persons who with a determined mind to redeem Liberia from the current government if and only if Liberians are not satisfied with the governance process of the CDC government. Well, today's purpose is just to singularly look at the writ of arrest that will be issued for the ANC political leader, Alexander B. Cummings. According to information we have gathered, Alexander B. Cummings is being accused of authoring the framework document of the collaboration. And that framework document has been submitted to the National Election Commission, upon which the National Election Commission considered these political parties as a collaboration. So if this document was authored by Alexander Cummings and then being filed to which the National Election Commission considered the CPP, if that document is incorrect because of what we are hearing, that Alexander Cummings authored those documents, Does it mean that the CPP is not a legal entity in the eyes of the National Election Commission? Well, to answer some of these questions, we want to look at first the rate of arrest, and then we go into the closet of the CPP and look at some of the issues that are before the National Election Commission. Did Alexander Cummings alter the CPP framework document? We are not insiders, so we will not know what is going on from within the CPP. But what we can say for fact is that these activities that come out give us an idea to make analysis of what is happening within the CPP. Before the accusation of Alexander Cummings, there was issue of leadership crisis within the CPP. Who is to lead CPP into the 2023 elections? Critical minds will feel that because the CPP cannot agree, they all are manufacturing issues to convince Liberians. So among themselves, somebody can drop out of the race and they can find someone who, among them, if the political game within the CPP will favor any of those persons, then that person can become the standard bearer of the CPP. So the crust of the confusion is not solely the altering of the framework document that have been in existence for months, that a document that brought them into recognition by the National Election Commission. But this framework altering came in the midst of the conflict of who should lead the CPP into the 2023 elections. So how honest is the issue that is now in court, for which a writ of arrest has been issued? I think not being a member of the CPP, the ALP, the Unity Party, and the Labour Party, we stay in a better position to give our clearer view on what is happening within the CPP. Hence, we gave the analysis to see whether we can better give a view of what is happening within that collaboration. So firstly, we recognize the political conflict within those four political parties, party struggle. To the point the conflict got narrowed between Joseph Boakai and Alexander B. Cummings. As we understand, the Labour Party is siding with the ANC for Alexander Cummings' leadership of the CPP, while the ALP, the ALP and some folks within the Labour Party are siding with the Joseph Boakai group. Now the conflict has extended to the magisterial court, the writ of arrest that came from the ALP, the standard bearer of the ALP, Benedict Ure, are saying that Alexander Cummings altered the framework document. So we ask the question, can the National Election Commission, or is the document that before the National Election Commission, falsified? And should the National Election Commission deny the CPP of legitimacy, since indeed they themselves are saying that the document is submitted before the National Election Commission is faulty, meaning one of their own falsified the document, which has been filed, to which they were granted that legal status to operate and run as a political institution, quote unquote, collaboration. Well, as far as our political understanding is concerned, the National Election Commission, being a constitutional creature, does not see the conflict in any point to which they will deny the CPP their collaboration, meaning the document before the National Election Commission is legitimate, not illegitimate. If any member of the political parties, meaning the four political parties, think otherwise, the recourse you are being to file a petition before the National Election Commission. The Montreal City Court does not have any jurisdiction over the National Election Commission, neither any document before the August body. Now we ask the question, how did the Montreal City Court get involved in issuing a writ of arrest for Alexander Cummings? on the basis that a document has been falsified. When the Morocco Court cannot subpoena the National Election Commission to come to speak to the clarity of the issue about, the National Election Commission is now subject to the Morocco Court, neither any of the lower courts within Liberia. Rather, being a constitutional creature, a child of the Constitution, the National Election Commission is answerable to the Honorable Supreme Court of Liberia. Hence, if the political parties have any issue with framework document before the National Election Commission, the hearing officer, they should have filed a petition before the National Election Commission. And the hearing officer would have called the political parties to determine the truthfulness of the document before them and realize if indeed the document was falsified. And it could be in the preview of the National Election Commission to then deny the CPP legitimacy, upon which actions could be taken. Maybe the National Election Commission would have thrown them out of the National Election Commission and come out of their jurisdiction, and they could then decide to go forward. Howbeit, the ALP and its party leadership decided to issue a writ to the Honorable Magisterial Court, meaning the city court. Well, we don't know what has happened over the first day of the period. We understand that Alexander Cumming did appear before that court, meaning the city court. But for us making analysis of it, does that illegitimize the CPP before the National Election Commission? Which document is before the Morocco Court? Can action coming from the Morocco Court undo what is before the National Election Commission? All of these are all part of the conflict that I think the four political leaders of the political parties concerned are not calculating very well. We want to believe that those political leaders, not being lawyers, should have had lawyers to make perfect analysis, draft these documents, and these documents were filed before the National Election Commission. And if there are issues growing out of that document, the best thing to be done is to any issue growing out of there should go before that body, because that body is a constitutional body that is answerable to the Honorable Supreme Court. So the document that may be submitted to the Morocco Court cannot be the document before the National Election Commission. What am I saying that? Because all of the four political parties, we understand, signed the document that went before the National Election Commission. So those who signed, Alexander B. Cummings, Benida Ure, Nyombli Kanga, and Nyombli Kanga and Joseph N. Walker. One will wonder, did you all sign a document that was not legitimate, that was falsified? If you did sign a document that was not correct, you ought to suffer waiver and latches, because you should know better. You are all preparing to lead Liberia. You all are canvassing to take over leadership. You're going to be having more documents to sign, and there are more clever people within political institutions or governance that would be, some of whom may not have the character or the characteristics of being good leaders, but we want to, the same thing that you all are crying on the CDC, that we want to repeat the same thing. So then we ask the question, are you prepared for leadership in Liberia if and only if you will sign document that is falsified? Did you read this document? To the point where when the document is filed, did you take copy of your document to read at a point in time? Let us assume the document was filed yesterday. Did you reread? Did your lawyers reread the document to understand whether the document that was filed was the proper document? Why wait until after months before you want to come and crowd file? Is that a missteps that Liberians should now criticize all of you and believe that you are also part of Liberia's problem instead of being a political institution, the collaboration to which Liberians can see you as a potential political party to lead our country? Well, some will say yes, the CPP is the best political party to take over from the CDC. Others will say, well, within the CPP is demonstrating an attitude not resembling the kind of people we expect to lead Liberia. Well, it's left with the voting population. They're going to make that decision. My analysis is just to give people an understanding. So what is before the Moral City Court and before the National Election Commission? Political parties are pressure groups. There's a lot of things that is ongoing in Liberia today. We hardly hear political party, including the CPP, discussing those issues that are confronting the governance process. The current government has so many missteps, like the Liberia National Budget that is before the August body. A group of lawmakers sat down without even a public hearing and decided to pass that budget without even looking at it. Where is check and balances in government? Now, political parties, pressure groups, civil society organizations, media institutions, if everybody can be complacent, can be quiet to look at what is going on, Liberia don't have a good future. So political parties are there for the sole purpose of checkmating the current government. It's not just to keep the conflict between yourselves, but you were formed for the sole purpose. The Constitution allows individuals to form parties, to enter into collaborations, and do what is just right for the general good of Liberians. So to close on this case that's before the Moral City Court, we watch the case. We want to see how that will end. But if you give me the perfect chance to analyze it, I will tell you that, hey, that case could be dismissed. For what reason? Well, the fact is that the National Election Commission, that is the sole authority of the document in their possession, is not answerable to this to the magisterial court. Is honorable to the Honorable Supreme Court. So all evidence as to document being falsified should have been conducted and verified by the National Election Commission, by and through its hearing officer. So if you missed that step and you went straight to the not the Honorable Supreme Court, to the Magisterial Court, I'm wondering whether or not decision coming from there can have any effect on the document that's before the National Election Commission. That is my view. Do you have, or can any decision that come from the honorable, the magistrate, the Moral City Court, that is the magisterial court, can decision coming from Joma Jalan be effective? Can they have any influence on the National Election Commission? Can that court mandate the National Election Commission? No, they cannot. So then we ask ourselves, what is the singular purpose? Well, I'm not supporting anybody here. I don't know Alexander Cummings. I'm not part of the ANC. But I feel there's a misstep on the part of the ALP. And on the part of all of them, because the first thing is all of you sign a piece of document that is not before the national election. So national election is not a party to your conflict. All the thing you're doing is a political noise. As far as the National Election Commission is concerned, you all are in a collaboration. So whether Alexander Cummings falsify a document, let us assume that is true. What is the way to go about it? Is it a writ of arrest? Can the writ of arrest in any way have any influence on the National Election Commission or document that's before the National Election Commission? Let us assume the Moral City Court came out and said, okay, you know what, Alexander Cummings, it is evident that indeed you falsified the document for the National Election Commission. What can that decision do to the National Election Commission? In my view, There is no ruling that comes from that moral city code that will have any influence on the constitutional creature, meaning the National Election Commission. The National Election Commission is not answerable to the moral city code, rather the Honorable Supreme Court. It is written, the framers of the Liberian Constitution set aside few institutions, National Election Commission being one of those. The General Auditing Commission should be one of those. No, not the General Auditing Commission. The National Election Commission, primarily, that's the focus right now. I don't want to miss my steps. So, when you are dealing with the issues and you cannot go to the crust of it, the issue remains. As far as you're concerned, you either want to deal with the issue that's before the National Election Commission or go to the National Election Commission. It is they who have the document you have filed. Whether other you people sign a document that you didn't read, that which you don't want to say, you don't want people to say, well, you were reckless at the time of reading that document. We are okay. Alexander Cummings did swap documents and all of those stuff. If you hire a lawyer job doesn't end when the document is filed. A lawyer job is to always make sure, for example, if you file a document, you get back in an office, make sure, let us assume you send someone an office boy to go and file a document with the court. Do you relax, or don't you take that document and flip over and know whether indeed this is a document, because you are answerable to the document you file? Your signatures, all of you guys that sign the document, obligate each and every one of you before the National Election Commission. So the National Election Commission, as far as the National Election Commission is concerned, the most legitimate document before it is that framework document you submitted. So all other conversation you have, even going to the magisterial court, they are all considered as political noise because you are failing to address the issue about. The National Election Commission has all authority to investigate issues before it. Meaning they can mandate, the commissioners can mandate their hearing officer to go into these matters. When the hearing officer goes into the matter and he comes with a ruling, anyone dissatisfied go before the Board of Commissioners. The Board of Commissioners will investigate. If anyone dissatisfied, you go before the Honorable Supreme Court, not at the magisterial court. Hence, where do we stand when we hear, okay, you know what, Alexander Cummings, rate of arrest being issued? On what? Someone said on the framework document. Where is the framework document? The framework document is before the National Election Commission. So that connection alone disqualified the moral city code to go into that matter. Yes, because the framework document is the property of the National Election Commission now, to which these four political parties are seen as a collaborating body. So to undo that framework, it is the National Election Commission. You can go to the National Election Commission to either withdraw your signature from those documents on ground, and that will require hearing. You have to prove why you're doing it. Or as a Liberian, you can just keep quiet and sit down and let whoever going to go through election to go through it. They fail, they win, they win. So that's the first issue we wanted to address this morning. So as far as we're concerned, legally speaking, the matter is before the National Election Commission. You cannot leave the National Election Commission and go to the moral city code and go run there and say, okay, somebody falsified the document. For legitimacy of this issue, the court should subpoena the body that has this framework document for the court to authenticate whether this document is indeed a document, not somebody giving another document to you. Let us assume you have a photocopy. The original document is with the National Election Commission. Hence, you as a body or as a member of the body, you would have filed a petition with the National Election Commission to challenge them and go before the National Election Commission to clearly provide evidence that the document was falsified for which you signed and that you were misled. Although the question will be asked, did you read the document? Or if you hire a lawyer, did your lawyer advise you properly? You know, in America, before you reason, they say before you sign, did you read the document? It's always a caveat. Did you read the document? Because when you sign, you are obligated to that document. And all of you guys sign. So why you want Liberians to take you guys for? Or do you sign this framework document? So let's agree Alexander Cummings went and swapped the document. Okay, the signature page, took it out and attached it to another document and carried and filed it to the Election Commission. So none of you have ever read that document? Even the second day, you didn't read the document? And after you read it, did you realize that now the issue somebody is saying, I mean, sometimes we hear this thing, we add a lot of questions. Somebody is saying Alexander Cummings went and inserted in the document that any member of the political party is not allowed to leave the political party after convention or something like that. That doesn't make sense to me. The Constitution of Liberia grants every Liberian the opportunity, that freedom, that right to associate and disassociate with any group at any time. So that need not to be into any document. If somebody put it in a document, it's just up to themselves. Now, that would be an issue. If that is a serious issue, we ask ourselves, did the National Election Commission see such a phrase or paragraph in the document that no one is to leave the collaboration after a convention? That will also raise a very serious issue. To which a constitutional issue, when the Constitution says everyone has that freedom, that ultimate right to make a decision whether to be a part of a group or not to be a part of a group, and somebody will go and put that in the document. Let us assume all of the four political parties did that. They themselves are in serious conflict with the Constitution. Because all Liberians have that freedom. That right is given to every Liberian. It's a God-given right for everyone. You can be a part of the CPP, you can make a decision. Even the second day, you say, no, I don't want to be part of you. Nobody will sue you. Anybody will sue you, they'll just be wasting their time. Because the Constitution protects everyone. It's a willful decision. You can decide to be a part of any group. You can decide to disassociate. So that's the first most issue we wanted to discuss this morning. So we're following up. We keep watching. We keep listening. What's going to happen from the level of the honorable? Let me say the honorable magisterial code. Yeah, Juma Jala has his own ideas. You know what he's going to be doing. But hey, I know his decision cannot affect the National Election Commission. If that be anything happen in Liberia, right? We also want to see how that will play in. But we don't think that a document will falsify. You go to the Election Commission, prove the case. Now, when the National Election Commission would have proven that Alexander Cummings falsified document and throw the case out, at that point in time, you would have taken the case to sue Alexander Cummings for act, of criminality. But what's the evidence you're going to have? What evidence you're going to rely on? The other person say the other person say that. The four persons have signed a piece of document, they have submitted their filing. So that's an issue. The second issue we have this morning, which is just a short discussion, is the 2022 national budget, the Liberian national budget that was submitted by the executive branch of government. For God in heaven's sake, the House of Representatives has passed that budget without any public hearing, without calling ministers and agencies to justify whether indeed they are aware of the figures assigned them. Checks and balances in government. It is well expected the framers of the Constitution set a branch of government called the legislative branch of government for the sole purpose to check on the executive branch of government. They have a right to pass a law. The executive has a right to veto. They have the right to override the veto. These are all part of the mechanism put into place. So it is not expected that all of them will be in one accord and just take everything. Yeah, let's go ahead and do what we want to do to protect the figures that are being assigned them. That's a serious issue. You pass the July to December budget without any public hearing. You call a budget performance report. You did not care for that. You pass it under the cover of the darkness. You also now has passed this national budget, the 2022 national budget, without a public hearing. Now, there are several figures in there. There are even money that's being borrowed on behalf of the country. You all are saying, okay, it's okay. Let's pass it. Let's go ahead. The money you're spending, you are obligating the future generation of the country. You have no time to sit and scrutinize that budget. Like the National Election Commission for what I'm understanding is from $3 million to $28 million. Now we come to what? This year is not an election year, right? Okay, maybe there's preparation. Did you look at the figure? Did you really see what the $28 million is going to be doing for the National Election Commission, just for an example. But you chose to pass the budget without even public hearing. Where is the check and balance? Where? Well, that's what we have. You guys are in leadership. It's all up to you guys. We see what the Senate will do. Whether the Senate will just concur in that form and manner. Some of the senators are already started raising some eyebrow. I didn't hear Dara Dillon talking about it, that the budget is not realistic. I think another person spoke about it. But it's not, even if you pretend to call a public hearing, would have given the eye, the public would have seen you guys to see, okay, they are working. But to receive a budget for no reason, you just pass the budget that way. The last time we have the former finance minister on this platform, he was laying down the processes involved. The budget law requires you, lawmakers, to call every ministry and agencies of government to come before you and defend their budget. And you didn't do that. You just passed the budget, maybe because of figure that is assigned you. You have $30,000 in there. Maybe you don't want anybody else to know. The $30,000 Liberians are also called noise about. It's in there. Probably to protect all those things, you decide not to open the budget for public hearing. You pass the budget. Well, that's Liberia. But remember, some of us have seen lawmakers who have gone in there and got out. Tomorrow, you will come right back in public in the society. You want to mirror those who will succeed you. 2023 is here. The way you work, Liberian will reward you. Having said that, that's how we try to end it today. We wanted to just discuss these two issues, the CPP conflict and the Liberian national budget. How far are these matters? Democracy works well when the people engage one another. It's not about conflict. It's not about fighting. It's not about killing anybody. It's about looking at these issues in a very realistic, educated way and know where the country is going. Liberia has young generation. The future of Liberia can be protected by you all that are now in power. The way you do it is not by assumption. There are tenets of democracy. When you follow those tenets, people from the outside can see and realize that, okay, Liberia has a better future. Like the budget you pass right now. Even if, let's assume that Summit will have money buried in there. You don't care. When the budget passes, people rejoice. I know that. People who craft budget, there are line items that they pray that no one will catch that line. And by the time the budget passes, people rejoice. People go and sit on beer table and drink. But guess what? They are sure what is being put in there, they will get it out. And for your failure to scrutinize the budget, you give money, the country money, to people who probably don't deserve to have those money. What good is it for you to be in the House of Representatives when you cannot scrutinize the country's budget, the money that should be, the people resources? There are other countries that are sending money over there. So you just pass budget because, hey, we have to pass it. So what's the check and balance? Well, that's how we come up with today's edition Inside Liberia. And this is 2A Radio. We've been broadcasting from Pennsylvania. And we're sitting here critically looking at issues about it. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, we'll be here with another critical issue. Join us next time. This is James Jensen, your humble servant. We're going to be here the next time, bringing you more development, looking inside Liberia, bringing out issues that affect the common people. Bye for now.